One night, the most famous sign in Hollywood suddenly became part of a lingerie ad. No announcement. No press release. Just bras hanging off a landmark that's basically untouchable. And within hours, people weren't talking about the brand anymore. They were asking whether Sydney Sweeney had just crossed a line that could land her in serious trouble. Because this wasn't just bold marketing, it may have been completely unauthorized. And once officials spoke out, the story took a turn no one saw coming. It started quietly late at night, when most of Los Angeles had no idea anything unusual was happening. Then a video surfaced and suddenly everyone was replaying the same clip. Sydney Sweeney, dressed in black, climbing part of the Hollywood sign with a small crew behind her. No red carpet. No flashing cameras. Just bras being strung together and draped across one of the most protected landmarks in the country. The footage, first shared by TMZ, showed the setup clearly enough to spark instant confusion. This didn't look like a fan prank or a random photo op. It looked planned, professional, deliberate, and that's what made people stop scrolling. Because the Hollywood sign isn't a place you casually decorate, especially not for what appeared to be a commercial promo tied to a rumored lingerie brand. Within minutes of the clip spreading, reactions split in every direction. Some called it fearless marketing. Others said it felt reckless, attention-hungry, and completely out of touch. But the biggest question wasn't about taste. It was about permission. Because pulling off something this visible, this risky, and this public usually means someone signed off on it. Or at least that's how it's supposed to work. And that's when people started asking who exactly gave the green light, and whether anyone did at all. Here's what made this stunt hit differently than a normal celebrity headline. The Hollywood sign isn't just a backdrop for selfies or drone shots. It's a tightly protected symbol with layers of rules most people never think about. Touching it, climbing near it, or using it for anything commercial is treated as a serious matter, not a casual decision. The sign sits on restricted land, and its image is controlled almost as carefully as a major brand logo. Productions don't just show up and film there. They apply, wait, and get explicit approval. And even then, access is limited. That's why major movies and ads usually recreate the sign somewhere else instead of going anywhere near the real thing. So when viewers realized this wasn't a movie scene or a permitted shoot, alarms went off. Because hanging anything on the sign, especially for promotion, isn't seen as creative expression. It's seen as crossing into protected territory. And once that line is crossed, the conversation shifts fast from bold idea to possible consequences. And that's exactly when the people who actually control the sign decided to speak up. Not long after the video spread, the situation stopped feeling like internet speculation and started feeling official. The Hollywood Chamber of Commerce, the group that controls the image and usage of the Hollywood sign, released a statement that instantly changed the tone of the conversation. According to the Chamber's president, no license was granted. No permission was requested. And most importantly, no one involved had prior approval to use the sign for a commercial production. That single detail hit hard. Because it directly contradicted the assumption that something this big had to be cleared in advance. The wording of the statement was careful but firm. They made it clear they had no knowledge of the stunt before it happened and emphasized that anyone planning to use or access the sign for promotional purposes is required to go through them first. That wasn't just a clarification. It was a line in the sand. Once that statement went public, the narrative shifted almost overnight. This wasn't just a daring marketing move anymore. It was now a question of rules being ignored, boundaries being tested, and whether consequences were about to follow. And that's when another detail surfaced that complicated the story even more. As the backlash grew, a new detail began circulating that muddied the waters. Reports claimed that Sydney Sweeney's team may have secured a permit through Film LA. And at first glance, that sounded like a clean explanation. A permit usually means approval, right? Not exactly. Film LA permits typically cover filming logistics, crew presence, and general production activity in the city. But they don't automatically grant access to every landmark, especially one as protected as the Hollywood sign. That distinction matters. Because even with a valid permit, certain locations still require separate authorization from the groups that control them. And that's where this situation slips into a gray area. If a permit existed, it may explain how the crew was there. But it doesn't necessarily explain the bras on the sign itself. Using the image or physical structure of the sign for promotional purposes is treated differently, and that's where questions start piling up. To make things even more interesting, no one has publicly confirmed whether a police report will be filed. No charges have been announced. No official action has been taken, at least not yet. And with Sweeney's team staying silent, speculation only intensified. Because when details are missing, people fill in the gaps. And that silence quickly pushed fans to connect this moment to something else entirely. As the Hollywood sign debate kept growing, many fans started pointing out that this wasn't the first time Sydney Sweeney's name had been pulled into a heated marketing conversation. Last year, a fashion campaign meant to be playful suddenly turned into a cultural flashpoint almost overnight. At the center of it was her American Eagle ad, where a slogan using the word jeans sparked accusations that went far beyond denim. Online critics claimed the wording carried uncomfortable undertones, and what began as a simple brand deal quickly spiraled into a much bigger conversation. At the time, Sweeney said she was caught off guard by the reaction and insisted the campaign had been misinterpreted. She later explained that she took the job because she liked the brand, not because of any hidden message. She also said that staying silent at first only made things worse, something she hadn't expected. That moment stuck with fans, especially now, as another bold promotional move placed her back under intense scrutiny. Some people see a coincidence. Others see a pattern. And while nothing about the Hollywood sign stunt has been officially labeled intentional controversy, the timing and scale made one thing clear. When Sydney Sweeney is attached to a campaign, attention is guaranteed. And that attention quickly turned into something even louder once the internet fully weighed in. Once the story fully broke, the internet did what it always does. It split straight down the middle. On one side, fans rushed to defend Sydney Sweeney, calling the stunt clever, fearless, and exactly the kind of headline-grabbing move that keeps Hollywood interesting. They argued that no real harm was done and accused critics of overreacting. On the other side, the tone was far less forgiving. Some viewers called the move disrespectful, saying the Hollywood sign isn't a prop and shouldn't be turned into a marketing tool. Others questioned why a celebrity would risk touching a protected landmark at all, especially when she already knows how quickly public opinion can turn. What made the reaction even louder was the absence of a response. As hours turned into days, people kept waiting for clarification, an apology, or at least an explanation. But nothing came. And in online spaces, silence rarely calms things down. It invites theories, assumptions, and harsher takes. Clips were reposted, comments piled up, and every detail of the footage was dissected frame by frame. And while some of the outrage began to fade, one question refused to go away: what happens next when a stunt crosses from viral moment into possible fallout? Right now, everything about this story sits in limbo. No charges have been announced. No official penalties have been confirmed. And Sydney Sweeney's team has remained completely silent. That silence alone has kept the conversation alive longer than the stunt itself. If nothing happens, this moment may fade into another bold celebrity headline. But if officials decide to take action, it could turn into a cautionary tale about how far marketing can go before it pushes back. Especially when the line between creativity and consequences gets blurry. What's clear is that this wasn't just about bras on a sign. It was about risk, perception, and how quickly control can slip once a moment goes viral. For Sydney Sweeney, the question isn't whether people noticed. They did. The real question is whether the attention was worth what might come next. And in Hollywood, where one move can change the narrative overnight, that answer doesn't always arrive right away.